Let's move on to electric lighting. What am I looking for? I want you to pick one space in your project and apply electric lighting. So, for example, I could say, well, I want to emulate the same, or I want to try to create a similar amount of light in this restaurant up here that I have through daylighting. And so it looks like maybe in the middle of the space it's around 500 or 600 lux. So I could apply electric lighting to try to get that level. For me, it makes sense to do the theater since that's a black box, has no daylighting in it. What I'm suggesting you do, even for something like this, is I created a theater space layer. It's exactly the same as what was in the daylighting, but now it's separate. I can isolate it. In my case, I decided to do, get fancy and do raked seating. But if you had a room that had that you'd already done daylighting in, and you had a work surface, you could use that. Let's just review quickly the workflow. I'm going to add luminaires, which are fixtures. Select, whatever. I can choose whatever I want. I decided here that I would pick something that had a certain directionality that made sense to me. Do whatever you like for your situation. Place it in the model. One thing to remember with this, by the way, is with some of these, this one I think will work up against the ceiling, but sometimes you get results where either you get no lux or something very low because you're above the ceiling, because some of these have a different profile. So just make sure you're looking at this, and you can come down a little bit from the ceiling to be safe. I could move this, I could move this down 5 feet into the space if I wanted to. So that's up to you. And then you're just creating an array of whatever choice you've made. I did, let's say 10 by 10. Then we're just, I find this the easiest to just manually place them. Whatever. I'm not going to do, I'm not really actually going to do this because I already did it. So I tried two different types of arrays. I did a 20 by 20 and I did a 10 by 10. I decided the 10 by 10 was better, so I'm not showing you all of my runs. And these are the results. I started off with a 22 watt. Each of these is a 22 watt fixture. And I'm going to say, I want 600 lux or 500 lux in this space. But wait, what is the actual simulation? I didn't even say that. So if we go back, let's think about it. Just remind ourselves. I'm going to do a point in time illuminance model because since this is going to be at night, so I go to my sky and pick night. So I'm going to midnight here because I just want it to be dark, right? And since it's always going to be the same once it gets dark in terms of the amount of luminance, I'm having no sunlight coming in, then I just need one data point for this because it's always going to be the same, or it should be consistent. So I've got a point in time illuminance, which means it's a certain hour of the year on a certain day. I have it at midnight or sometime when it's dark. Then the rest of this, I can use the same layers or the same materials that I did in my daylighting model. So I'm using the rough concrete wall. And this actually, I changed that. I'll talk about that in a second. So you have to have a material on your volume, and you have to have a work surface like we did in daylighting, and then I have to have luminaires. So what were my results? First, I had the 22 watt fixtures with a white wall on the interior. So the material is white, something white that I picked, and I'm way too high. My median lux is way too high. Look up the difference between mean and median if you don't understand them. We're probably going to want to use mean here because that's the average. Then I changed. So I said, okay, well, I'll just reduce it quite. I'll go in and select this set of lights. of the set of luminaires and change it from the 22 to the 11. I did that, ran it, and as would be expected, I got about half the amount of illumination. So I'm basically where I want to be. I could go a little bit lower. I could adjust this how I wanted to. But I want to show you one more iteration that's makes a point. I changed the material from white to a rough concrete, and I got a huge reduction. So remember that light inside a building is reflecting off of the surfaces in the space, and so the white concrete, all we're changing there is the type of material of the walls, and we get a drastic change. So that would be a way that you could iterate. You could also iterate by changing the wattage, like I showed you. I could change the layout. I could change the type of light. So that's all I'm asking for. One space, some kind of iteration, or just setting a target lux. You have to have an amount you're searching for uh, to know if you have a design that's working. Once you get there, you're done with that.